What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of JohnnyVTV Live here with the crew as usual. What's going on, boys? How we doing?
I'm excited. Finally, the three of us together here. We got the Kyle right here.
That's right, a reunion.
Haircut. He's a little chilly though. He's got his blanket out just in case he starts shivering. And I'm pumped up about our guest tonight, Johnny, a fellow DJs guy like you.
You know what? I always love to be talking to a fellow DJ goer, and I got to educate him because this guy I got to school him on you go to DJs during the day for happy hour. When it turns nighttime, other than maybe a Thursday night, like Thursday night's a different story, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, no good, man. You got to go during the day. That's when the fun happens. That's when the action is. But without further ado, let's bring him out. We got Joey Calz from MLB.com and NHL.com. Very well-rounded individual. How you doing, kid? How's it going?
We're good. I like how I became the DJ's expert. That's how you introduced me into the show.
Expert. Come on.
NHL.com's DJ's correspondent, Joey Calz.
I'm very excited to be back finally. Been difficult the last couple of weeks to find some time to come on with you, but I'm really happy I'm here.
Yeah, man, absolutely. We appreciate you coming on, taking the time. And we got a lot to get into. So without further ado, let's kick it off with the NFL. Yes, there is football tonight. As Kyle just said off air, we got the preseason game. To me, that doesn't really count. It's a Hall of Fame game. I mean, still, whatever. I don't even care about that. It's NFL season starts when week 1 officially commences. So, guys, are the Colts done already despite all their bad preseason injury luck? Joe, kick it off with us.
Yeah, I mean, what are the chances that the quarterback that you acquired in the offseason and your all-pro offensive lineman go down with the same exact foot injury, both shelving them for 5 to 12 weeks? That's kind of a big window, don't you think? Usually it's like 6 to 8, 6 to 9, whatever, 5 to 12 weeks. I don't think they're necessarily done. Frank Reich's one of the best head coaches in the AFC. They have a lot of talent on that team. But I do think it's going to be very, very difficult coming out of the gate. I can see them shopping around the quarterback market as we kind of enter the preseason and leading up to the season. Nelson's going to be a very, very difficult loss, but one of the strengths of that team remains the offensive line. But I do think that they're going to have to go quarterback hunting. And I will start the carousel by throwing a name out there, a guy who I thought was going to be a Colt in the offseason. I think somebody who would fit that system really well, and that would be a guy like Mitch Trubisky. So there are a couple of guys who I think they're going to inquire about, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see. But no, I don't think they're done. I think the extra week, the 17 games, may help them a little bit more than it helps anybody else. But I just think they have a really solid system in place there. The division's a little tough, though. Titans got better. You're going to see the Jaguars, I think, maybe not great out of the gate, but I do think they're going to be super competitive in year 1 with Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer. But they could very easily finish second in that division. They have enough talent to do so.
Kyle, what do you think?
Well, I think that obviously, though, you don't want to see anybody go down with injury. You don't want to root for injuries because that's just being a prick if you do that. But let's just face facts here. I mean, Carson Wentz going down is good for the Titans. My biggest fear going into this year was that the Colts were going to be better with somebody who I thought would revitalize his career under Frank Reich, who, like Joe said, is one of the best head coaches in the AFC. That being said, I think that Tennessee, as long as their defense holds up, Caleb Farley passed his physical earlier this week, so that bodes well for somebody who was valued as a top 5 draft pick earlier on, but because of the back surgery in March, it dropped him down to where we originally drafted him in the late teens. That being said, let's see where it goes for Tennessee. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I think they're probably going to be number 1 with Jacksonville. I would say maybe because depending on how long that Quentin Nelson injury is where I think is really going to hurt Indianapolis the most. So if Quentin Nelson misses 12 weeks, like Joe had mentioned, then I think honestly probably Jacksonville. I would probably go with Jacksonville in the AFC South to be the second team there.
What about you, Nick?
As of now, Colts are done. D-O-N-E. They got no shot.
Wow.
It depends, the obvious thing to do is call up Phillip Rivers and say, why don't you retire after this year? Just come back one more time. It's not, I don't think that's funny. That's the best option. He knows the system. He was there last year. He had a solid year. If you're not going to call him, call Alex Smith. He's barely retired. He can keep a team on track. He's the perfect guy to hold the locker room together. I know Johnny hates him, but he knows he's a good leader. And Johnny thinks that the Washington football team is better than Ryan Fitzpatrick. But how about that guy, Nick Foles? He has no interest in being on his team. He holds a press conference and is like, I'd love to be traded to the Colts. Love to come in and be the quarterback. The guy's got 3 more years on his deal. Nobody wants him. He's done. He tanked the Bears season last year. Trubisky should have been the starter. Nagy's lucky to still be there. But when it all comes down to it, they just add a depth piece, and they're going to probably sign Blake Bortles, who was recently released when Aaron Rodgers came back to camp and is there to win the Super Bowl with the Packers this season.
You know what, though? Listen, I want to say they're done. Here's the thing. Here's the fact of the matter. The Colts still have a good nucleus of players. The Quentin Nelson injury to me is by far the bigger injury between him and Wentz. And usually you would say the quarterback is the biggest. And most of the time I do agree. But here's the thing. Carson Wentz is still figuring out everything. Yes, he's had success under Frank Reich in the past. And we've just touched on it a couple times. Frank Reich is one of the best coaches in the NFL. And I do think he can get his team to at least be competitive. Now, I'm an optimist, but I'm also a realist. So realistically, 5 to 12 weeks, let's be moderate about it. Let's say they come back in 8 weeks. Now, 8 weeks puts us at the end of October. Now, as you well know, let's say they're out the first 8 games. That's half the season. Half the season you could be already done, gone, sayonara by that point. So the Quentin Nelson thing to me is big. Quarterback-wise, yes, Carson Wentz going down hurts, but I'm excited to see Jacob Eason. He comes in with all the measurables. He's a guy that might surprise a lot of people. They have some receiving weapons. They absolutely figured out their backfield situation. They got Jonathan Taylor, who really came on strong in the last 5+ games of the season last year. They're getting Marlon Mack back as a guy who can spell. Nyheim Hines is still a threat out of the backfield to catch the football. And their defense is still one of the best in the league. They still have a top defense. Now, the issue becomes, can they plug that offensive line enough? Because clearly Quentin Nelson is not only the anchor of that offensive line, but he's probably the best offensive lineman in the game. So Jonathan Taylor coming out running 20 to 25 times a game this year is not surprising to me at all. And I think he was going to be a big part of their success. So it all depends on how Indianapolis can plug that Quentin Nelson loss and just hold down the fort. Carson Wentz, I think Jacob Eason could come in and do just enough to keep Indianapolis afloat.
Yeah. People forget that Wentz sucked last year. Led the league in interceptions and he lost his job.
Right. As for the rest of the division, listen, there's nobody in that division that really stands out to me from a defensive perspective when you're trying to grade the offense. Defensively, we know what Indianapolis is. We know they're one of the top units in the NFL. And they're going to have to go against some tough offenses with a revitalized Jacksonville and a stacked Tennessee. However, if you look at it like this, Jacksonville, Houston, and Tennessee, none of them have any type of defenses that I would consider threatening. They're not defenses that I'm worried about facing if I'm Indianapolis. So that's why I'm saying if you can do just enough to plug the Quentin Nelson loss, which is a huge loss, there's no way around it. But if you can just kind of hold down the fort for a little while, get that running game going, lean on it. And if Jacob Eason is indeed your option, which right now it looks like it will be, just kind of have it like where Russell Wilson was early in his career. Put him out there, have him make a couple plays. Don't make the big mistake. Keep your team in a position to win. Lean on that running game. Lean on that defense. And listen, keep your head above water. Even if you can go 500 or maybe a game below 500, you're still in the thick of things going down the stretch. Now, as for Phillip Rivers, he said he would be looking to come back if indeed he's going to come back. more towards December, January. Who knows? Maybe they can get him out of retirement. Although he admitted he is not in playing shape right now. I am sure he started enjoying that retirement off season from the jump with his family, probably eating good, drinking good, whatever the case may be. I'm not going to say they're done just yet. I'm not going to say they're done. I'm tentatively going to say they have a shot to keep themselves alive. The Quentin Nelson one is by far a bigger one. I thought they could survive without Carson Wentz. It all remains to be seen how Frank Reich pieces it together for the offensive line because, honestly, Quentin Nelson's a bigger loss than Carson Wentz at this point.
So I'm going through their schedule quick. So let's say it's the 8 week, but it would be 8 weeks from today. So let's say 2 months leads us into the beginning of October. Their first 4 games at home against Seattle, at home against LA, the Rams, at Tennessee, at Miami. You want to stay afloat, you probably have to go 2-2 in those games because then week 5 would be the Monday night game at Baltimore. That would be very, very difficult. That would probably put them in either a 2-3 or 1-4 hole. So
that's a fair point, man. Listen, like I think I would probably say Seattle. I think they're going to split with Tennessee. So it just depends which game that they're going to take. But I would probably say Seattle's the winnable game. And believe it or not, Miami's the winnable game because the jury's still out on Tua. Like, I don't know what we're going to get. There's been early reports that he's impressing in camp, but how much can we take camp to the bank in terms of his success this year? Miami's success is almost solely reliant on Tua's progress in year 2. So I could say those 2 right now are winnable games because let's not forget, they still have a great rushing attack the way it stands if Jonathan Taylor was even anything close to what he was at the end of last season. And they still have, like I said, a top defense. That is a defense that can hold teams under 20 points. And as great as LA is, as great as Seattle could be offensively, as great as Miami could be, and as great as Tennessee could be, Indianapolis's defense has the ability to step up and hold them at bay. So, as promised, we will get into football more next week in terms of fantasy, futures bets, all that good stuff. But we're still in baseball season, so let's shift gears here. Guys, can the San Francisco Giants hold off the LA Dodgers? Nick, what do you think?
They better because they don't want to be in the wild card game, Johnny. Right now, they got a nice 3.5 game lead over the Dodgers. They're sitting there at 68-40. They are, much ahead of the Padres. Padres, Dodgers in the wild card game. That's going to be tough because if you're the wild card game going against the Padres, anything can happen. You don't want to be there. Play it in the series. But yeah, I think the Giants really need to hold off the Dodgers here because I think if they play the Padres in the wild card game, they will lose. Gosman's been great, but maybe he's not going to go in. Maybe he'd feel intimidated coming in and trying to, have a strikeout 10. The Dodgers here, I'm just so sick from the trade deadline last week. They got 4 MVPs, 4 Cy Young Award winners. One of them's a long reliever for them. And it's a joke that they're able to do this. I think we're all rooting against the Dodgers. Let's hope they don't get to the World Series. Let's go Astros. How about the Astros going into LA, shutting out the Dodgers in front of 55,000 hecklers? I mean, that's some guts right there. I like that. That was pretty cool. And we'll talk about, pennant bets soon. But it's really hard to say that I think the Dodgers are not going to catch the Giants. Best case scenario for us baseball fans is they end up tied, and we have a 1-game play-in to see who's going to be getting the wild card matchup and who's going to be getting the division. Padres are out of it. 7 games back, not going to happen. These are the 3 best teams in the NL, maybe the 3 best teams in baseball. And all I could say is things are breaking in the Brewers' favor because they're going to have an easy road to the NLCS.
So what's interesting I find about the whole NL West, and we had a great guest on. We had Kevin Davis, formerly from the Action Network, on our show a while ago, and I keep forgetting what he referenced, the Giants are like this certain wood that's not very sturdy. It looks good, but it could fall apart easily. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm impressed by San Francisco. Gabe Kepler, he's done what he had to do to keep this team not only afloat, but as the best record in baseball, to this point. The Giants have proved so far that they are not a fluke. They didn't come out of the gate hot and then just fold like hot laundry. They are still the best team in baseball as it stands right now. Looks like they're going to lose to the Diamondbacks today, which is a shame, but they're close to 70 wins. And I got to be honest, man, like after all this time, I know the Dodgers have been struggling injuries, same thing with the Padres, but at the end of the day, right now, the Giants still have a 3.5 game lead. And yes, that could disappear quickly. And as we get more down the stretch and the Giants and the Dodgers and the Padres and all these teams start playing each other more, now it's really going to see who's the top dog in that division, because as it stands right now, all three of these teams are going to be going to the playoffs. And I agree. If I'm the Giants, you do not want to forfeit this lead. You held it the entire season. Don't give it up now. You don't want to be playing in a playing game. And yeah, everybody's probably rooting against the Dodgers at this point. But what I would say is I think they can hold them off, but I don't think they will. I think the Dodgers adding Max Scherzer and Trey Turner, who, by the way, Scherzer just showed out 7 innings, 1 run, 10 strikeouts in his debut last night with LA. I mean, he was my Cy Young pick coming into the season for a reason. I mean, aside just from
people wondered if he still had it, John, and the dude is just unbelievable, right?
Yeah, there's no question that he still has it. I mean, he's unbelievable. He's one of the best pitchers we've ever seen. And I know Jacob deGrom is the best pitcher in baseball, but Max Scherzer, man, he's right there. He's been doing it at such a high level. He's proved he could do it in the AL, the NL, wherever he goes, he dominates. Since the day he left Arizona, when he was just a strikeout-only pitcher, he's learned how to pitch. I'm sure playing with Justin Verlander for a couple seasons really taught him the art of pitching. So as it stands right now, I think the Dodgers are going to catch them. We have 2 months left. There's a lot of baseball to be played. LA is starting to round back into form. They're going to start getting hot, and I think they're going to catch the Giants. I think they'll end up with maybe a 1.5 game lead of the division where they take it home. Now, what I'll say is this. The Padres better buckle up, and they better not start falling flat on their face because they're dealing with some injuries themselves. I don't think the Padres are going to catch anybody. I think they're going to get
the Reds catch the Padres. I know you're a big Reds guy.
You know what, man? I think they can.
Was what I saying about the Reds so crazy earlier this year? Didn't I say the Reds could be a contender?
No, it's not crazy. It was just you know what it meant. You know what it was, man? It was their pitching. And it looks like they're pitching like I said last week, Luis Castillo, since the calendar turned to June, he's looked like the guy that everybody was expecting in Cincinnati. And listen, it's great to see. I love what the Reds can do. They are a very interesting team. If they get in, they have a great home field advantage, a great American ballpark in Cincinnati. But to answer the question, the Giants, I think they can hold off the Dodgers, but I don't think they will.
Big game.
Joe,
Kudos to the Giants for doing what the Mets and the Red Sox should have done, and that's get Chris Bryant. That was
yeah, that was a big pickup. Joe, what do you think?
So I want to say about Gabe Kapler is at this point, what are they? They're 28 over, right? I mean, I think he's going to be the NL manager of the year regardless. I think they have overachieved to the point where you can pinpoint the success at him being in that leadership role. Nick stole my point. I was going to bring up Chris Bryant, but kind of cut in there. I think Chris Bryant is a terrific fit for this team because the Giants have kept a core group of players together here now for the better part of 10 years. Guys like Posey, guys like Brandon Crawford, right? Donovan Solano came on last year. He's having another really good season this year. What this team does better than anybody else is when you match name for name, they may not necessarily have the star power, but they one to all the way through, they pitch effectively. Every guy not only can handle the bat, good in the field. Defensively in the infield, they're really good. And those are the little things that will matter come down the stretch of the season. Now, I do think the Dodgers are going to catch them and surpass them simply because they just have way too much talent. I mean, they have ridiculous amounts of talent, but the Giants are going to be the team nobody wants to see in a short series. And They won 3 championships in 5 years. Granted, their last title was back in 2014, and they had a guy by the name of Madison Bumgarner. I don't think they have a pitcher on the staff who could completely take control of a postseason series, an entire postseason like him. But like I said, 1 to 5, they could pitch really, really well. Kevin Gausman's having essentially his career year, kind of was a late bloomer, but really, really good. Johnny Cueto, really solid veteran guy, been through the rigors of the postseason before. DeScalfani, Alex Wood, a lot of guys who may not necessarily be great, but have had success before and have pitched in postseason series. And I think that does and will ultimately make a difference, down the stretch of the season here. So I do think the Dodgers are going to catch them. The NL West is a hydra, the 3-headed monster. And I think both of these teams have put enough distance between themselves and the Padres that the Padres won't be able to catch them. And I think if the Padres continue on the trajectory that they are now, they're probably going to put enough distance between them and the Reds for that second wild card spot. I ultimately do think it's going to be the Giants and the Padres, and I don't think that game's going to be as easy. I think a lot of people would pick the Padres in that game. I wouldn't. I would pick the Giants. So, but we'll see. They're a very interesting team. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody expected them to be 28 over, and they're probably going to lose today to the Diamondbacks, like you said, but nobody expected them to be in the race and to acquire Chris Bryant, who I think is a tremendous fit for that team. I think he fits the MO of that team perfectly. I think they have the horses necessary, not only to be able to potentially hold off the Dodgers, but to make some noise in October. But ultimately, I think LA will surpass them.
Like you said, man, they got guys that have been there before. They were never the team that everybody looked at as dominant. They were never that team that just blew you away. But you hit the nail on the head. Everybody does their part on that team. You look before the Chris Bryant acquisition, you looked at their roster. Nobody had more than 18 home runs. I mean, Kevin Gausman has been a revelation. He's a renaissance man right now. But nobody's number.
Cy Young love.
Yeah,
Brandon Crawford has a total of 4 wins above replacement this year.
Dude,
nobody's not having a career. He's not necessarily having a career season, but a lot of those guys, it's like I said, when they play it the right way, they do all the little things the right way. They may not necessarily have the great player. I mean, you can consider Bryant the great player, but everybody on that team just does everything either solid or good, and it makes a difference. It really, really does.
Everybody does their part on that team. That's why they're so successful.
Yastrzemski's a really nice young piece on that team as well.
He's having a difficult year, but I mean, when your last name is Yaz, you get the respect, right?
As a Red Sox fan, that's what I just naturally give him.
So, with that being said, let's move on here. The NL Cy Young and NL MVP winners. Who do you guys have? Kyle, start with you.
Yeah, sure. Let's do this. I'm going to go with Jacob deGrom. No shocker here. I mean, that's my Cy Young. And then for MVP, it kind of depends there a little bit. I mean, for me at least, if you get, let's say, the Reds make a case at really being in the playoffs and they get that second wild card spot, I'm willing to give it to your guy up there, Johnny Castellanos, the multi-base hitting machine. All the over bases bets, they're all easy locks with that guy. So
love that guy, man. He's back in action tonight. He's back in action tonight, fresh off the DL.
In a big game against the Pirates that I was just looking at, where Sonny Gray's pitching, and a guy that's got a 5 ERA going against him. So you know what, a big play for him tonight. Look at that one, sir. That being said, NL MVP, I don't know. Other than that, I don't see anybody really running away with it. At least in my book, nobody that's really wowed me yet. Guys, could you maybe help me out with that one?
See, the problem with the award is it's a name award, right? And when you go through the teams, I forgot who said this, but it's perfectly said. Everybody on the Dodgers basically cancels each other out, right? So when we're looking,
I told you.
Yeah. Great. I thought you got it from somebody else. I apologize, but Nick basically said that, and I think he's 100% true.
Inspired by the Mad Dog.
Great minds think alike.
Right. So, I mean, to me, a month ago, it was basically a 2-horse race. It was DeGrom and it was Tatis, right? And Tatis has the name power that the writers usually like. DeGrom here missed some time. I mean, we're all unanimously going to pick DeGrom for, I think, the Cy Young, unless the Phillies somehow surpass the Mets.
I'm not.
As far as I'm concerned, he doesn't have to throw another pitch for me. I've seen enough from him.
Hasn't Tatis Joe been kind of getting cold lately?
Yeah, he hasn't really been the best lately.
He's injured. He's not playing.
Well, even that. Yeah, there you go. My point. He's on the West Coast, Nick. Sorry, I haven't.
Yeah, but DeGrom's been out all year. How do you give him the Cy Young?
Well, I hear about him on WFAN every day.
I mean, he's leading. Put it this way: he's missed some time here recently, not a lot, but he's still among position players the leader and wins above replacement, right? So that
you got to go by more than that, though. If you're
he doesn't qualify for ERA anymore, he doesn't have enough innings. He's probably not in the top 10 in strikeouts anymore. I mean, if I'm looking at Cy Young, I have to go with Zach Wheeler right now. I think he's the reason why the Phillies are about to overtake the Mets in the division. You can
that's what I was getting at. I mean, if the Phillies are they're a game back. The Mets fans are used to the June swoon, and now it's the August swoon, which is something that they're definitely not used to. But to me, I like when I'm thinking about the awards, I'm thinking of who's the best that I've seen, the pure dominance. And in my head, it's like nobody was going to ever surpass the dominance that I saw from DeGrom this season. But you are 100% correct. The time missed absolutely does play a factor here. And I think Zach Wheeler, more so than any other pitcher in the National League, has been able to take advantage of that particular aspect of the award chase. So
if you believe in DeGrom, go right now on DraftKings, bet on him plus 1,000 because that's a killer comeback there if that happens. But I like Wheeler.
I might put 5 shekels on it there, Nick.
You should. I like Wheeler at plus 380. Again, Burns and Woodruff have been great. I always feel like writers will cancel teammates out. It's not fair. Bueller's been good. Bueller's actually the favorite right now, plus 350. And then you have Gosman at plus 450.
No, Bueller's the favorite. Bueller's the favorite.
If you want a long shot to bet on, I would bet on Freddie Peralta of the Brewers because I think
plus 2,500.
No, it's not. Listen, it's not going to happen with him. He's got 2 teammates that'll get it over him. If there's a long Peralta, he's not going to get it. He's got 2.
Well, I said long shot. That's a long shot.
I was throwing money away long shot though.
But 2,500.
If I'm looking at the long shots, I think you have to go long shots in the NL with the MVP. Right now, even with Tatis out, he is head and shoulders stat-wise still so much better than everybody else. He's batting .292. He has 31 home runs, 92 hits, 78 runs, 70 RBIs, 23 steals, which is so much better than anybody else. But how long is he going to be out? That'll hurt him. Did the Padres slip out of the playoffs? They only beat the Reds by a game? That's because Tatis isn't there. To me, that shows Tatis is valuable, but I don't know what the writers are going to say. So the guys I'm looking at here, I'm looking at Buster Posey as a long shot. I doubt it, but if you look at the people here, maybe they want to reward a San Francisco Giant. He is batting .326, which is incredible. Only 13 home runs, though, and 35 RBIs. But he has scored 46 times. But the 2 guys I'm really looking at here, and I think it all depends on which of these 2 teams win the NL East, because it's going to be one of them. If the Braves win the NL East, Freddie Freeman has a great chance to go back-to-back here. 116 hits, a 2.9 WAR, 24 home runs. He's batting .290. Remember, he was batting .220 at the break or a little bit ago. 78 runs scored, 60 RBIs. But if his team doesn't win it, that means the Phillies are going to win it. And he's back. Bryce Harper is back, folks. Bryce Harper has a shot. The power numbers aren't there. He's been injured, but his WAR is higher. It's a 3 WAR. 17 home runs. He's heating up, though. He's batting over 300, which is rare for him. 306. 41 RBIs. So we'll see what happens here at the end of the season. I think the NL East is going to have a lot to say when it comes to who's going to win the MVP. And I'm looking curious. At the odds, Freddie Freeman's at plus 750. The Dodger guys are higher, but I think they cancel each other out. I know he hasn't played as many games, but how do you not go with Tatis? His numbers are so much better than everybody else.
Well, I think Tatis is the obvious choice there, Nick. But like you said, with DeGrom, but it's also a matter of how much time he's missed. So, like, if you're going to say that for DeGrom, you got to also factor that in for Tatis there as well.
I'm curious what the writers will think about Trey Turner, because if he goes to the Dodgers and he makes a difference down the stretch, I mean, his numbers are really, really good too. But how do you quantify that into an MVP season when he was playing more than half the season on a team that's not going to make the playoffs?
Right.
You know
That's
what
what hurt
It's
Scherzer too. Scherzer
Right.
is Cy Young worthy, but I mean, he changed teams. I don't know how that plays.
All right. Well, here's what it is. Here's what it is. I'm not jumping ship just because he got traded. Max Scherzer was my guy at the beginning of the season. DeGrom, I love him. If he doesn't get hurt, he's unanimous. Nobody else.
He's
is
the
getting
MVP probably. If
nobody else is getting. All right, everybody, shut up. I'm talking. Nobody else gets a single vote if DeGrom stays healthy. He's out of the running. Like Nick said, he's not even qualified. If he's done for the season, that's it, man. That's it. Scherzer, I'm going to stay with just because he goes to a different team. Like, if he's putting up the numbers he is, I can't jump ship on him. However, if the Phillies overtake the Mets and make it to the playoffs, Zach Wheeler now has a very interesting case. There's a possibility that happens. He has a very interesting case. Zach Wheeler's putting up numbers this year. However, the two guys that I almost don't want to hear it that would cancel each other out, maybe the Brewers pitchers with Woodruff and Corbin, who have been dominant all season long. I mean, the Brewers rotation collectively has the best ERA by a long shot all year. I think it's under like 2.5 as a team. Like, it's something absolutely ridiculous. I almost don't want to see them cancel each other out. Unfortunately, I know how we've seen how the writers are. So if the Phillies overtake the Mets, and Wheeler keeps his pace, I think Wheeler might actually get some positive votes and might take this thing. I'm still going to stay with Scherzer because I think he's not even close to being done yet. He's going to keep pumping out a lot more of these 10 strikeout performances and everything along those lines. In terms of MVP, I'll say Tatis for now. However, Kyle, you were spot on.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm not done.
Okay.
If the Reds overtake the Padres and make the playoffs behind Nick Castellanos batting .330 with probably 30-plus home runs and close to 100 RBIs and close to 100 runs with the time he's missed, I think we've got a real race on our hands because Nick Castellanos, you've heard me say it many times, he is one of the best hitters in baseball, but he plays in Cincinnati. He's not flashy. He's not a guy that wears a lot of these chains, Machado's, Tatis. I think Castellanos will get it. If Tatis misses a lot more time and the Reds overtake the Padres, I think Castellanos will get it.
Hey, that Dodgers trade, man, all I'm going to say is if Turner and Scherzer really come in there and are the two reasons that the Dodgers take over that division and then make a deep run, I mean, you can make the argument that give both of them the award, even though they did switch teams, because I know that that's a little taboo because that's not really how you do it especially if people get traded. But in certain circumstances, if, like I said, if they're the reason, you might have to just hand them the awards.
You're selling Castellanos short. He's leading the NL in batting average. He's the best hitter in the NL right now.
Yeah, but people don't understand that, dude. Like,
I know.
The common fan doesn't really know much about him. He's never played on a big market team. Like, I mean, I guess the biggest market he's played on is the Chicago Cubs. But they had so many guys that people didn't really know who he was. Like, he was on the Tigers, the Cubs, he's on the Reds. Like, people don't understand the last 5 years, this guy is the best extra base hitter in baseball. Like, the guy literally pisses extra base hits. He's got 2 extra base hits when he wakes up in the morning. Like, he's ridiculous. He's missed some time. He's activated tonight. I'm ready to see my guy go 2 for 5, maybe 4 RBIs, a dinger, 2 runs scored, like get right back to business like he hasn't missed a step.
Can't disagree.
So in the spirit of continuing our betting talks, who is the best bet to win the World Series? We have the Dodgers at plus 300, the Astros at plus 500, the White Sox at plus 650, San Francisco, San Diego, New York Mets at plus 1,000, Milwaukee and Boston at plus 1,200. Kyle, shut up. Tampa Bay plus 1,500, and the Yankees at plus 1,800. Who is the best? Nick, lead us off.
Well, I mean, the Dodgers are fair, but the Dodgers are a horrible bet. The best bet has got to be the Tampa Bay Rays. How do you not take those odds at plus 1,500? That's easy money right there. They're going to be the ALCS. And my question here is, how are they going to be able to surpass the Red Sox, which they have? They got to make, again, very crucial to get the AL East championship. They ought to be the wild card game. Anything could happen there. I really like the Astros. I think they're really out to say F you to everybody this year. Dusty Baker, give me those wristbands. I mean, this guy needs to go to the Hall of Fame. But again, you asked me the best bet. How do you not go with the Rays? I know Joe's going to pick his Yankees here, but you got to go with the Rays with that.
I'm actually not. I was going to pick the Rays, and then you took the F and A.
Yeah, oh, he's just pissed.
I'm so pissed he took the Rays. Okay, think about it logically, right? The National League is going to be a gauntlet. It is a gauntlet. And it's like, yes, even though the records don't really indicate it, the Mets and the Phillies are still going to be a hard out, or even the Braves are going to be a hard out, regardless of who wins the NL East. The three best teams in baseball probably are in the National League West, or three of the 4 or 5 best teams are in the National League West. And then you can make a strong case for the Brewers. I mean, those are 5 really, really good teams. If you're betting somebody, how are you not betting the team you think is going to win the American League? And to me, the 2 best teams who I think are going to be Nick and I, we have said this before when we came on this show. We said it a couple of days ago. It's very hard for me not to see an ALCS rematch between the Rays and the Astros, because I think those, hands down, right now are the 2 best teams in the American League. I have not seen enough from the White Sox. It's not that I don't like them. I think they have a ton of talent, but I need to see them play and win a postseason series first. You need to see the crawling before you can walk, right? So I think the Rays at 1,500 are an astronomically good bet. I mean, they just went to the World Series last year.
You know something? Let me jump in here, because this is stuff that I live for. So beginning of the year, everybody knows I put up futures betting on the Mets, and I'm not dead on that. Not dead at all. It's just they got to get healthy, man. They're starting to come into a free fall. It's not good, and they're coming into a free fall at a bad time. So they got to get healthy. Now, if the Mets could get in and everything starts coming together, Lindor's back and he's grooving, DeGrom's back and he's grooving, Syndergaard, Carrasco starts grooving, Walker and Stroman get their shit together like they were early, Baez starts putting up, Alonso stays hot, all this stuff, then I personally don't think there's a team that's going to take the Mets out. The only team that will take the Mets out is the Mets. But at this time right now, the best value, took the words out of my mouth, Tampa Bay plus 1,500. The addition of Nelson Cruz was gigantic. They haven't gotten a guy like that mid-season trade deadline in a long time, and they don't do stuff like that. They get Nelson Cruz, who could still pop 40 home runs in the season. The big if, and this is where the bet comes from, the big if is if Tyler Glasnow comes back. I don't think they declared him that he's going to get Tommy John. It'd be a shame if he comes out here and he has to go get it. If Tyler Glasnow comes back and he's anything close to what he can be, no question, Tampa Bay plus 1,500. Because I think it's going to be the White Sox and I think it's going to be the Rays. The White Sox are starting to get healthy again. They got Eloy Jimenez back. Luis Roberts coming back. They are fully loaded. Chicago. I like the Astros, but their value to me is not there. Plus 500, that's not good enough for me.
Right, that's the problem.
I think it would be the Rays and the White Sox. Glasnow is the big if. If he comes back, forget it. But the problem is, it doesn't matter how good you are. We've seen this too many times in the past, and this is what bites the Yankees in the ass year after year. You need starting pitching come postseason time. And the Rays do not have that guy outside of Glasnow that is reliable. They just don't. And if Glasnow comes back and he comes back and he's not right, because obviously he's got a major issue going on right now, then you could kiss that goodbye. But for now, Tampa Bay plus 1,500, I would say is a very strong bet. But I will also say, do not sleep on Milwaukee at plus 1,200, because their top 3 in pitching right now is arguably the best. And they got a huge pickup with Eduardo Escobar, which is, that guy's one of the most unsung players in baseball. So now it's if Christian Yelich can start rounding back into MVP form. I won't sleep on the Brewers at plus 1,200 either, though.
Can't disagree.
Yeah, I mean, how do you not pick the Brewers as your NL bet? That's the most value. You can't pick an NL West team.
You can't pick an NL West team.
It's too risky.
Right.
The Brewers are going to be in the NLCS. I think they would wipe the floor with the NL East winner, unless, like you said, the Mets are all healthy. So that's, to me, the Brewers and the Rays are the best value bets at this point.
Correct. I agree.
100%. No question about it.
Now, I will throw one monkey wrench in there, though.
We already know. Let's go. Here we go.
Red
Go ahead.
Sox.
Go ahead.
No. Hold your bet. Hold your bet. I'm actually going to go with the daunted rival of the Boston Red Sox. I'm going to say don't sleep on the Yankees, my friends. There is something different about
Tony
this
Rizzo.
team ever since Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo have been traded to that roster. I called it last week. They needed to go.
They brought the Italians out.
Two left-handed bats to put in that lineup, and what did they do? They went and listened to Kyle Donnelly right here on this show.
They brought the Italians out.
I also think what's very important is that the Yankees all season, and I have watched them, so I know, have been atrocious defensively. And you put two good defenders on that team instantly, in addition to the lefty bats. That, I think, will make a difference. The question, I think, with the Yankees is, will they have enough strength in the rotation come the playoffs? Because
I thought you were going to say the question is, can the Yankees players stop getting COVID every week?
Well, that's true.
Well, that too. Unfortunately, we got three. We got Cole, we got Monty, and we got Gary now.
Yeah, Gary now today. Joe, I just think, though, that honestly it's a little more in the head of the Yankees pitching staff rather than the talent, because I think that the talent is there, especially in the bullpen. That's been their strength for how many years? So I think that it's just more mentally. They just kind of need to get right, and Aaron Boone needs to kind of just figure it the F out with that team and just get them going.
No doubt, man. No doubt. So let's move it on. My favorite segment of the night is the Gambling Guineas Best Betting Trends, the weekly taste on a Thursday. We're going heavy with the underdogs today. We got the Mariners money line plus 200 against the Yankees. Why? Because for whatever reason, the Yankees sometimes have these slips. They got mollywopped by Baltimore in the opening game of their series. And you know what? They're throwing out Nestor Cortez. He's been a very good reliever this year, but he's not a guy that I'm convinced on as a starter. So I think the Mariners still, they're not out of this thing. They're a huge disappointment. They're the biggest loser of the trade deadline, but they're still in wild card contention themselves. They're not mailing it in this season. They still got a team that can sneak up on the rest of the competition in the AL and maybe vie for one of these wild card spots because they're right in position. So I think the Mariners come out tonight, have a good showing. I think they squeak out a big money line underdog win against New York Yankees. I think Nestor Cortez struggles a little bit. This could be a game that we look out for shortstop Mariners, J.P. Crawford. He's an absolute stud. This guy can do it all. So let's not sleep on those Seattle Mariners. Next is the Cardinals money line plus 110. I mean, talk about an absolute free fall. Huge disappointment for me. Not only did I think that the Cardinals were going to win the division this year, but I thought they were going to be like a 90-win team. I thought they could be making some noise in the NL playoff picture, and they've just had too many bad lucks with their pitching injuries, bad scheduling, and it just doesn't look like it's happening for them this year. But tonight they get the Braves. They go against Touki Toussaint, a guy who hasn't had a big sample size. They're at home. You know, they've been hit or miss. I think the Cardinals, they're slight underdogs tonight. I think they'll edge it out. This is why they call it betting. So, Your Honor, no objections. So, in the spirit of staying with the NL Central, I haven't done an emerging player of the night in quite some time. So, as you could have guessed, my emerging player of the night is one Nicholas Castellanos from the Cincinnati Reds. He returns tonight against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He had a wrist injury that kept him on the shelf for several weeks, and I think he's going to get back to business tonight. I think we're going to look at a star power performance from one of the best extra base hit artists in the game. Nick Castellanos, don't disappoint Daddy. Got a lot of faith in you. And guess what, man? Don't sleep on him for the NL MVP if the Reds manage to finesse their way into that wild card situation. What you know about it? So as we're wrapping up the show here, Nick, we can never go a show without you talking about this. What are your final thoughts, my friend?
Final thoughts. We'll get to the one on the screen first, but the first final thought is, ladies, if you see Joe at DJ's this Sunday, release the Kraken. He'll be ready to go. He'll be there with Gerard and Nino and the boys. But listen, the NBA is going to be atrocious this season. It's not worth watching 1 second. The Knicks are going to be in the 7-10 playing game. The freaking Lakers are getting everybody. Lionel Messi today said he's leaving Barcelona. LeBron's already trying to sign him to the Lakers on a rookie minimum deal. It's nonsense. You know what? The Lakers, I hope there's horrible team chemistry. It implodes. Dwight Howard, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James, they're all breaking down, yelling at each other, and they lose. The Lakers are all going to come down to, can they stay healthy in the playoffs? Because they're not going to be healthy during the regular season. And the East, you got the freaking Nets, who are signing everybody too. Neither of these teams are going to have their teams at full strength for more than 5 games in the regular season. They're probably going to play each other on Christmas Day. You can check that one right now. But it's going to be brutal. There's no sense in watching. I'm very glad we got a nice NBA Finals for a change with the Bucks and the Suns, but those days are now long gone. And let's just fast forward to next off season when hopefully some things change. I'm just disgusted about the NBA. Don't want to watch. Not going to watch.
That's why we don't watch. Unfortunately, our boy Jay Hen will probably feel different, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But we thank you very much, Mr. Calabrese, for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at jcalabrese1, and Nick and I host our great podcast, You Know I'm Right. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you listen. Take a look at us. Got a lot of really great guests coming up. Hopefully, coming into the NFL season. Hopefully, we'll be able to pull in some really great NFL guests. But have some great episodes. Check us out. Really, really had fun doing this. Thanks, John.
Hey, appreciate you coming on, man. Always a pleasure, and we'll definitely be talking to you soon. You know, keep DJs alive for me until I get there. We got to hold it down, bro. Like West Bar, we got to get some shots going, some grails, have a good old time. But, boys, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Stay tuned because next week is when we're going to go heavy into football. We got your best fantasy picks. We got your best futures bets. We got who's going to suck, who's going to be good. Everything NFL next week. No questions about it. Let's get after it. Boys, absolute pleasure. Take it easy.